One of the major annoyances with the Wrangler 4xe is the uneven load floor when the seats are folded down. I solved that problem by building a deck that just drops into the rear cargo area and levels the load floor with the seats down while adding some practical storage to the back of the Jeep. After using this deck for several months, I decided to improve upon this deck by building a large drawer that fits under it in order to make that space more practical and usable. This is Kurt from Go Forward Adventures, and this is my rear deck drawer build.
So I am in the process of building the drawer for the to kind of fit underneath the rear deck that I built for the 4xe. So first steps was just to basically cut out the plywood that I needed to build a box. This measures 28 inches across, 25 and a half inches from front to back. The opening in the back of the Jeep is 29 by 25 and a half. So I left a little bit of margin for error front to back. I need room for the sliders on either side to fit, and they take up about half an inch. So that's why this is 28 inches wide. So I've just basically cut out the pieces, and my next step is going to be to assemble. Because I want to mount the sliders higher, I don't want them on the bottom. I'm going to actually just cut in a little notch, a little slot in here, so that the sliders can fit into that slot. So I'll show you that coming up, and then I'll assemble this box, and then we'll treat it basically the same way. I'll finish it basically the same way as what I did with the deck. I'll prime it. I'll put some undercoat spray or some truck bed liner on it, and then I think I have some extra carpet from the earlier project. I'll just put that right inside. Okay, so I just finished cutting the notch in the side here, and this is for mounting the little slider. It can just slot right into that notch, fit perfect. So next thing I'm going to do now that I've got everything kind of cut and ready to go is I'm going to sand it, prep it, and assemble it, and then we can look at finishing it. I've just finished putting it all together. I used glue, brad nails, and a few screws to reinforce it and key points. I've got my little channel here for putting the drawer slides in. And I've done a nice quick sand, nothing too serious. Again, I'm going to be putting this, covering this with a rocker panel spray or truck bed spray or undercoat. Doesn't really matter which one you use. And that's going to give it a nice kind of rubber texture kind of finish. So I just did a light sand just to smooth it out, kind of just take the edges off some of the corners, and now we're ready to prime. Okay, so I just finished putting my primer on. We're going to let this dry, and then next step will be putting the rocker panel spray on, and that'll give it a nice black rubber finish. Okay, so I have finished building the box. I have painted, or primed, and then put this undercoat spray. Actually, I think I used a rocker guard spray. Basically, it's the same thing. It's a rubberized spray that will provide really good textured finish and grip. It also insulates against noise and vibration and things like that. So that's on here. I got the channel here for the sliders. So that's the next thing I'm going to do is install the sliders, and then we'll go see how this thing looks and how it fits. Okay, so I got the rails mounted on the side of the drawer. I spaced them out perfectly so that you've got 2 inches front and back. I wanted the weight to be evenly distributed. When it's in there, there's probably going to be some decent amount of weight. These are supposed to be able to hold up to 75 pounds. So that's a decent amount of weight. So yeah, so these are installed and ready to go. So now I'm just going to install the other side of the rails onto the rear deck. I'm actually going to take the deck out and stick it on here upside down, just so I can mount those easily, and then we'll see how she looks. So before I put everything together, I decided to do a bit of a rough fit. It looks good. My gaps on either side are just about right. So now I'm going to install the other rails. So I've got the drawer basically set and fit. Unfortunately, I don't have a knob on the drawer right now, so it's kind of hard to get out with just one hand. But so it slides in nice. It's secure, stable. I'm going to put some carpet inside here. See that next step? And I'm going to mount a knob so it's easier to get it on and off. So yeah, so far it's looking pretty good. It's pretty snug fit. Fits just about right. Got a couple other things, like I say, some carpet and a little bit more hardware, and we'll see how it goes from there. Okay, so I've basically fit everything. Everything's looking pretty snug. I just attached this knob so that I can slide this in and out. Obviously, I need to clean this up. There's a bunch of sawdust and stuff in here, but basically, I think it's pretty good to go. It looks pretty good. It fits pretty well, and it's a pretty snug fit. So that's going to add a nice solid amount of storage for me. I've cut out a carpet here. I have not glued it down yet, but I have just snug fit it, cut it to fit exactly. And that'll give it a nice finished look. It'll also prevent rattling and as much noise as, tools or whatever laying in the back there. So I'm going to quickly glue that in. So I just installed the carpet. It's now secure. It's all glued in place. And I used Gorilla Glue spray adhesive. Just put a pretty decent size, decent coating on the back of the carpet, lay it in, kind of rub it down, and that looks good. I'm going to put this thing in the Jeep, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, well, here it is. Got it installed. Comes out nice. Got a nice carpeted finish. I'm going to quickly load this up with some gear, and I think it's good to go. Now, this is fairly snug fit, and originally I'd planned on putting a latch on this side underneath this lip here, just to make sure that the drawer doesn't slide around as much. But considering how snug this is, it doesn't really move super easy. So I think I'm going to just leave it for now, especially with some weight in it. I'll fill it with some gear, see how, if it's shifting, if it needs to be secured, then I can always put that latch on. But for right now, I think I'm just going to give it a try just as it is. And that does, if you just look at how much space is in here, that adds a lot of easily accessible functional space to this Jeep. So, I think this is going to be an excellent addition to this rear deck that I built last year. Okay, so it's been a couple of weeks since I finished building the under deck drawer. And as you can see, it's got tons of space. I got lots of stuff in here, including the charging cable, a picnic blanket, some other odds and ends, a little snow brush for the winter weather. And if you look at the Jeep, it's quite dirty. We've had a lot of snow in the last couple of weeks. And so, of course, road salt, all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to have that brush in there, not banging around or whatever. It's easy to open and close. It works great. We still have the access to these little cubbies on the sides. So yeah, this has been super handy. I'm super happy with it. Now I quickly popped the drawer out, and it's super easy to take out the way I set it up. And the main reason I wanted to be able to remove this easy, and the reason I mounted the rails high on the sides like this, is so that this underfloor storage still has access. I mounted these rails up high, which means I still have access to this. And I'm not going to use this all the time for a lot of things, but I still wanted to have access. The different tools can go in here, as anybody knows. I've got things like a first aid kit and a recovery strap and some paracord and whatnot. Things I'm not going to use very often, but I wanted to be able to still have that accessible. If these rails are down low, then I wouldn't be able to open this, because you can see there's very little space between this hatch and these support legs. And that is actually something, if I was building this whole project again, I would probably change that around. I would probably make these wider. I'd make the rear support at the back 1 inch wider, so that these legs could sit half an inch farther on either side. And that way these rails could sit low like they normally would with any drawer. And then I could mount these rails on the bottom like they normally would with a typical drawer. And it would be easier to access and put them in and out. and it would just make it function a little bit better. I had already built this deck without thinking about doing a drawer at first, and I built it to make these spaces on either side as big as possible, and to also make these supports as close together as possible so that this is as strong as I could make it. But 1/2 inch on either side would not make much of a difference and would allow this drawer to function very well. And I had to notch this drawer just a little bit here in order to get it in and out, because of course you have to lift these sliders in and out. They have to kind of go over a bit of a lip to take the drawer in and out. So that's probably something else I would do. I would be able to do a little bit different. If the sliders were on the bottom, I wouldn't need quite as much clearance and I wouldn't have had to notch this out. And I would probably build the box a little bit shorter, maybe 3/4 inch shorter on the sides. The front I would leave the same, but these sides I would probably take 3/4 inch off, which would just allow them to slide in and out easily. But I couldn't really do that because these slides are so high. So I adapted to make this drawer work, and it works perfectly. And again, with the carpet down here, stuff doesn't slide around too bad. So I adapted it. It works very well. I'm super happy with it. But I think if I was building this fresh or building a new one, I would do it a little bit different. And those are the main things I would do is move these over 1/2 inch so that you have that extra bit of clearance so the rails can go on the bottom. And then I would just drop these onto the bottom, and I would lower the side and the back of the box by about probably 3/4 inch or even an inch to make it go in and out. But as it is very easy to take in and out. I don't know if I can do this with one hand while I'm filming, but it is not very hard to do. As you can see, as I one-handedly put that drawer and slide it in. So it still makes that underfloor storage fairly easy to get to. Now, one thing I was going to point out is my wife did not love this silver knob. I grabbed this because I had it left over from a project I had done doing some bathroom cabinets. And I just had it sitting around, so I stuck that on there. But she was thinking she'd like something a little bit more rugged, less kitchen looking. So what do you guys think? Should I change this knob out for something a little bit different? Something maybe more like this, some sort of a pull handle or whatever. I'll let you guys, say what you think in the comments. I think she wants me to change it out for something a little bit more trucky looking, and we'll just see how that goes. Me personally, I don't really care. This works pretty good, and yeah. So there you have it. There is my drawer build for the rear deck on the Jeep Wrangler 4xe.
So if you like this build and are considering building your own, I do have a video where I go through the process of building the deck, and a second video where I review the build and share the dimensions, supply list, and some tips for building your own. I will place links in the description. As far as building the drawer goes, the dimensions need to be 1 1/8 inch more narrow than the support legs, and 1/2 inch shorter front to back and top to bottom to allow for clearance to get the drawer in and out. If you have any questions or ideas or would like to share your own Jeep projects, please post them in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Kurt from Go For It Adventures, and until we meet again, just remember that an adventure awaits, so go for it.